Hey everyone, it's Ryan 1940 here. Today we're taking a look at the sortie I did the other night, and I was thinking that this is probably a good one to show you on techniques about shooting down Hueys. Um, I was actually after Apaches because I really want to kill one in the hip, and so I kept trawling around the FARP here up in the hills, and this is a good technique because you can kind of hide if you need to if other jets are coming around, and sometimes they won't spot you. I was actually trying to bait helicopters to come out into the hills to fight them, but they didn't seem to see what was going on. So those two Hueys actually lift, and I don't see anybody reacting to my presence yet. So when I looked at the FARP, I was basically looking to see the state of those helicopters to see if they're spinning up. Now, if they're spinning up, I would be worried that they would see what was happening and be able to lift really quickly and try to mess up what I'm trying to do here and intercept these guys. And then I'd have my back turned to them, so that's pretty dangerous. But they're not spinning up, so I think I've got some time to kill these two Hueys. Now, we've got a big altitude advantage, and generally being up high in a helicopter is dangerous on ECW, but if you're doing helicopter combat, you absolutely want to be the highest altitude aircraft of the fight. That'll always save you. Now these two Hueys, I'm closing down to build up the speed and close the distance. They're going to have to go uphill because they got to get over this terrain here, so they're going to slow down. I know that we'll have enough closure here that I could catch them and kind of keep my altitude at the same height, and then we can just roll the gun gently over to the first Huey. So watch the timing here. That guy goes down in 3 bursts. He's on fire. If a Huey's on fire, they're done. It's inevitable that they'll fall apart. You just have to worry about getting your nose, getting their nose off of you, and make sure that's always happening. Now it's taken about like 10 to 15 seconds from the first burst that had gone out before the other Huey really reacts to what's happening. And because of that, we get a couple more bursts on him, and then he's on fire as well. So now those two guys are just done. Yep. So I always watch when the Hueys are on fire to make sure they're not coming around, because they can fly for a little bit, but you can see there that the rotor of during that fire just disintegrated, and then he went down. So now that we're clear, I'm deciding to head back to the FARP because I did see another Huey and Apache there. So by now I would assume they've probably spun up, or they're starting to spun up or get spun up, and that I want to intercept them but use this hills here as cover. So with that altitude advantage and speed advantage that we had in the hip, you can absolutely go after two Hueys that are flying together. Don't be afraid to engage them. Be aggressive and be high above them. You can always kill that first one within a few seconds, and by the time the other guy reacts, you can probably already have guns on him, and it's only a few more seconds before the other one catches on fire. The things that do make it tricky sometimes is if they are more spread out, then you want to go for the guy that is the most aft one, and hopefully by then, after you kill him, there's still enough space with the second guy that even if he was to turn back towards his wingman, you still have the altitude advantage. It still takes him a few seconds to figure out exactly where you are, and you're able to shoot down on him. But yeah, always be aggressive with Hueys, especially if they're that close to each other. You can absolutely kill them within seconds. So I do a few laps around the outside area of the FARP in the hills there, and finally we bait one of the Hueys to come chase us. There's a couple Hueys at that FARP, so I'm not understanding why the second one isn't flying with him, because obviously 2 versus 1 is preferable, especially if you know that I'm there. Anyways, they don't do that, so my goal is to pull the Huey further up into the hills, because I've got the altitude advantage and he's going to be a little slower, trying to go uphill with me. And there are some ridges where you'll see I'll duck behind, and I'm just going to wait because he's going to fly over the ridge line and he's not going to know exactly where I'm at. If I have a perch position, I can see him really quickly once he clears that ridge, and we can start shooting at him. So as we come uphill, I kind of turn because now we're really lucky. There's this nice cloud layer that is going up into the top of that mountain. So behind us, I don't have to worry about any jets coming up to sneak up on us. All we have to do is focus down on the left side. And on that ridge line that lines up perfectly is where he's going to have to pop over. And it's going to take him a few seconds to figure out where we're at, but we'll be able to see him quickly. So sometimes people, if they feel like you have the advantage and they know it, they're not going to go for the low altitude approach towards you. Sometimes you can bait people into this poor position by acting like you're not aware of their presence. So at the moment I can see him and I'm just constantly flying straight and not reacting. And this drives a lot of players to stay really low because they think that they haven't been spotted and they don't want to compromise that yet. So I wait until he's kind of in range of guns and then I decide to turn over on him so I can start shooting.
There it goes. There it goes. Oh, he's running back.
So the Huey does a really smart thing and it just continues a sweeping turn once it's shot to get back towards the FARP as fast as possible. Now, I want to chase the guy, and if this was anywhere else, I probably would have got him. And if you catch somebody out away from the FARP, you can totally run them down like this. The trick is to just watch the geometry. But anyways, his friend has finally lifted from the FARP and has seen what was going on, and now they're shooting at us. And you can see the moment I pick him up, I don't want to go any lower anymore chasing this one Huey, and I've given up on that. The major threat now is the guy that's trying to climb towards us. Now this is just like, fighter jets and stuff in their energy management. You could imagine we're going downhill, we've got a lot of speed behind us, and this guy's coming uphill. He doesn't have a lot of speed on us. And a thing that I notice a lot of Hueys and Gazelles do is they're so desperate to get their forward firing weapons on you that they'll pull extreme nose high on you. If you see that, just go nose high as well, especially if you have the altitude and speed advantage. You're going to outclimb him. He's not going to be able to maintain that nose position, and the Huey, the speed drops off really rapidly once you get to the lower speed, so it's going to force him to dive down. And if the guy even was able to get some shots on you, the 7.62 at those ranges as it's rapidly expanding isn't going to damage your hip that much. So just pick up the nose when you see him do that and force his nose to go even higher to try and keep tracking you, and he's going to follow this guy, and it just makes everything easy after that. The first Huey makes it back to the FARP, but I don't want him to get away, so I try to do a lazy pass around the FARP, and it's kind of dangerous because the Humvees have the 50 cals on them, and if you get tagged by that too much in the hip, you'll absolutely catch fire and go down. So we do a lazy pass, and I kind of want him to see that I got slightly damaged by the guns, and so that he would try to chase me outside of the FARP range, and then that way I can finish him off. But he doesn't take the bait, and we end up going back into the hills to RTV. Lost track of where I was compared to where I had fought the last engagement. I thought I was in that area, and I wasn't. I rolled over a camp. When I rolled over the first camp, I thought to myself, I'll just continue on forward. I can hook off to the right down the terrain there, and I can slope down all the way into the valley and just be free and safe. Unfortunately, there was another camp perfectly in that spot, and so I was just getting shot at in both directions. By tanks and Bofors and stuff like that, so I was hosed. Some quick things before we go about the gunners. You want to set them to short burst rate, and you want to set the ROE to free fire. Now if you're having trouble trying to get the gunner to engage and you don't really know where the spot is for him to start shooting, a rule of thumb is keep the target centered on the middle of the left window. As long as you do that and you're flying kind of stable and not doing crazy cyclic adjustments, the guy will open fire if he's in range. So I hope that's helpful. If you find it helpful or you need more questions or whatever, just join our Discord and ask away. We'll sort it out over there. All right, catch you on the next one. Bye.